Cool. Okay. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. Hello, everybody. We haven't done one of these in a long while. Welcome back to another episode of the CAYACast. Joining us today from the Kaya team is the lovely Gina. And joining us for the first time in the cafe ever, which is very exciting. And just before they play a show, is the three-man version of Androgenius. We've got Earl Clapper, we've got Ray Morgan, and we have Mr. Callum McDonald in the corner. Where to start? There's lots of cool connections here, and I would say I really made this happen.
Okay, Gina, you can. Okay, sure, you intro.
You are welcome,
you do the
and
intro.
everyone that sees the show, you're also welcome because I basically pulled Earl down here. But I watched Androgenius play in 2019 for the first time. So I know Callum through my brother, and then he's lame, didn't want to go to the show. My mom and I went anyway because we're excellent. And I was just in awe. I was so captivated, and I've stayed one of those people that stream your music. So
what about 24 monthly listeners?
Shout out to the monthly listeners.
I saw that you're playing at the Armchair. I was like, and then that's sort of how we got here. I was like, I'm hooking.
Yeah.
They're never leaving me.
Yeah, I remember, that show at the Armchair. I just remember, who was it? I heard from someone who'd been talking to one of you that just half the footage that those guys captured was just me losing my shit in the front row. I was having the best time.
That was you?
Yes, I was having the best time.
Mad respect.
Yeah, you looked so happy.
Dude, I think, what a segue. Live music. I think a big part of it was that I hadn't had a live show experience like that in a while, or one that wasn't here, where just a crowd that was, the music was incredible, and it was just one of those things that the beauty of live music that we all get to experience, and thank you guys for that, because it was such a special moment for me. I really had such a good time.
Our pleasure. It was a special moment for all of us as well. We haven't played together at that gig. We hadn't played together in 2 years? 2 years.
Yeah.
And then also to put the amounts of effort that we put into that show, and then to receive the feedback, not just from yourself, but generally speaking, the audience was just they were there to fucking party, man.
Yeah.
It was really, really special, and any time you put your heart and soul out on a stage and you receive that back, that's sort of admiration and approval. It's really, really cool.
It's something to speak about because you are all also, prolific in your own right in other, performing with other bands, and throughout the last few years, and then for a few years doing very little at all in terms of performing. But it's, I want to get your guys' gauge on how you're feeling now about live music in Cape Town and in South Africa at large, as people who see, through various different lenses and perspectives. How are you feeling coming out of COVID? I know it was life-changing coming out of COVID. And how's the industry changed? What are you seeing that you're excited about?
Okay. Sure. I can't really give the Cape Town perspective because I'm not really on the Cape Town scene at all these days. But I can talk from Pretoria and Joburg. There's definitely there's a lot going on. Everyone has, I think COVID happened, and everyone that kind of liked going to shows but didn't. Now they do. Peeps are pulling through for sure. Peeps aren't that scared to spend some cash on a ticket. But I think the things that at least I was complaining about, I'll just speak for myself. Those are still the things that I'm complaining about now. I see still very much the same lineups at all the festivals, and I understand from an events organizer perspective, you obviously want to sell the tickets, but the flip side of that coin is if you're paying a new band nothing, then of course no one new is going to want to join, you know? So that's still very much the same. We're still talking about venues that there aren't enough of, but I think in terms of just the musicians, the people that are making the music, it was a thing. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot to be excited by.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely like agree 100% about the points of like just seeing the same lineups over and over again, and it's been a point of like, it's been a point of contention for me with the music scene in general. Like the fact that I don't know, it's like kind of it's a feedback loop of like, okay, organizers want to sell tickets, so they book the same acts, but then people only see the same acts, so they only know those acts, so they won't buy tickets to go to smaller acts, and then those smaller acts stay smaller acts because they're never on the bigger stages or on a stage that exposes them to a new audience. Which is incredibly frustrating because I see it in our band, I see it in other bands that I'm in, where it seems like you're just slogging away, and it did get slightly better just after COVID. I mean, when things first opened up, I was like, okay,
it was wild.
Here we go. Like, strap in, let's go, baby. Okay, any minute now. Never really got to the point where it got better than pre-COVID, maybe for like a brief period. And I think that like, they're just like, there's money being spent on tickets. There are big events happening. You see it all over. And I think that sometimes it's easy to think that just because you're not a part of that event that it isn't happening generally. So I've definitely been catching myself from doing that and being like, oh, it's so bad. Like it is kind of, but then there is also stuff happening and
a lot.
But I also, in saying that, I do think that the stuff that is happening is sometimes it's geared towards a very specific type of sound / like band or setup, and I feel like we don't really diversify when it comes to the music that we listen to. Like lineups are generally the same because the sound of those bands like they all sound the same kind of, or at least similar, if not the same. So I don't know where you sort of fix this problem. Like, is it a cultural appreciation thing? Like before COVID, I was in a project called Ghetto Sessions where artists from CAYACast were getting together with artists from like the Cape Town CBD. And that was a fantastic initiative by George. Oh man, what's his surname? Kirkinnis. I'm so bad with names. He's a good homie of mine.
That's a difficult surname to pronounce.
I know. I love him so much.
George
and he knows that I love George. That'll do. But yeah, man, he was doing some incredible work, and he really did put his heart and soul into that. And for like a period of time, it was going really. In fact, that was pretty much. It came to a head in 2019 when we went to Up the Creek. And then obviously 2020, everything kind of exploded. And then, life happens and George had to get back into the film industry. But it shouldn't fall on one man's shoulders. I think that the initiative that he started, not just with, artists from CAYACast, but artists from anywhere in Cape Town, Johannesburg, even, if you look down to the Eastern Cape, just kind of like trying to curate lineups that are accessible to, everyone.
And varied. Which, I mean, as as you alluded to, and as you alluded to as well, like the booking agent's responsibility is to put on something that's like coherent and you can cater to an audience, and it is that. Ideally that your audience will like all three of the performances on stage, and then it's really easy to just go super like mono, like that it sounds just all very similar. What do you? I think, how do we encourage, I think Ghetto Sessions, sure, I remember when that was happening, and it felt like it peaked, just before COVID. There were so many cool things happening. How do we, as musicians, as people in the industry, make those relationships happen where, people are asking for someone, I want this person to come and open for me, and they might not sound exactly the same as I do, but I really just think they're really talented. I think things like Ghetto Sessions are important, but I know all of you collaborate in a variety of ways musically. What does it take to create environments that facilitate that better?
Cal, you want to take?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So I think like what you were saying about like booking agents kind of curating shows as though they're like Spotify, if you like this kind of situations. Only really happens in like bigger festivals and events like that. But most shows that are happening in town are organized by the bands or, you know, like a mate or something like that, or the venue themselves. And in that sense, it's like you do kind of want to play with other acts that are like cohesive so that you can cross-pollinate your audiences. And it's also like a thing of, you know, like I'll book my friend's band because I want to play with them kind of thing. And, you know, and it's not like musicians in Cape Town that are playing in bands don't know people who play outside of their genre. You know, it's like we all know people in like the jazz scene, the psych rock scene, whatever other scene there is in Cape Town, which I'm not sure there is one.
The growing punk scene,
apparently there's a punk scene. And like a solution to that, I think, as with all things like this, we must look to the past. Back in my day, and I said this a lot. I don't know if I said this to you guys, but like I was actually talking to some friends of mine about this. Is like in like the aughts and the early 10s, there were like those gigs at like Weinberg Sports Club, Raw, Gandalf's, Purple Turtle. Like a lot of places that are now closed, where they would have, and this was like at the height of the fedora wearing, all-star checkered pants scar scene of Cape Town. But like there would be shows where it was, no, this is true. It's a true story. Everyone, I wore a fedora.
I'm not surprised.
And a loose tie, you know. I listened to Green Day once. So
I've never worn a fedora. Let that go on the record.
They would have these like these shows where it'd be like ska, punk, metal, you know, like whatever, you know, like three like not very, very different genres. Like sonically they're very different, but like the audience is kind of similar in a way, you know. It's like these you know, like reprobates and just general.
I literally had reprobates in mind.
Yeah, just you know, folks, our people. And they would have these shows with like very different bands going on there, and like there would always be. I mean, they were like, you know, like mainstays of the scene, but there were a lot of new bands that came on, and I felt like it was a very like healthy environment to start a band back then, because you could kind of get an audience via playing with other bands that maybe aren't in the same genre, or maybe they are, you know, like but they would kind of like feed into your audience. But they also at that same time they were having a lot of all ages shows. So I know particularly at Gandalf's and Raw, they used to have you know, you would get like a special stamp if you were under 18 and you couldn't order from the bar. And at Weinberg Sports Club, this happened all the time. Like when I was in high school, every weekend we'd go to gigs, you know, because we could. And then we'd see all of these different bands. But now, I mean, I'm not underage, so I don't know, but I don't think this is going on anymore.
No, it's not at all.
But like a part of that was that we kind of grew up with this culture of like, on the weekend, I'm going to go to a gig, you know? And like, I think like I caught kind of like the tail end of that. And because a lot of people my age were also going to like these like really dodgy underage parties at like Capasa and like I don't know, random places where they'd serve like kiddies beer and stuff. And you know, they would be going to assembly or whatever and going to go see DJs and electronic music. No hate against electronic music. I love electronic music, but you know, we're talking about the live music scene here, which is that was kind of like one of the live music killers back then, just because it took away the audience. But like you know, people kind of maybe younger than us didn't go to high school with that thing of like, on the weekend I go to a gig. So when they are 18 and above, they don't really understand the culture. They don't know a lot of bands. Maybe they just know their friends' bands. So unless you're like you like break into like the kind of like the public
The normative,
you know, with your band, and you become one of those bands that people know, you'll get people at your shows. But if you're not one of those bands, no one's going to go and check you out just because you're a band, you know?
Yeah, often like your social following determines like how many people you have at your gigs.
Yeah.
Like that's often.
Yeah.
I can confirm that that's true for like people younger than you, because that wasn't the culture when I was in school. It was you try sneak into a club, or once you're 18, that's where you're going. And my mom always used to be like, go out, socialize. I'm like, there's nothing to do. Like, you have to be 18. It's all revolved around like going to a club and drinking. And yeah, I mean, a space or spaces like that where we could have gone out to socialize and watch live music would have been incredible. Like, I can't even imagine. I mean, here we don't have an age limit, which is great. So the younglings, please come and don't abuse that.
Don't order drinks at the bar because we'll have to ID you.
Also, just in terms of, you know, shows putting on similar like sounding bands, I think it can also create a culture within the audience where they don't actually listen. And it's something that we've seen at shows. And then now that we have our own shows, when I go out to other shows, I'm like, why are you talking?
Yeah.
Please, like, you can like chit chat, but if you want to have like a whole conversation, like, I start getting anxious behind the bar. I'm like, I'm about to kick someone out. Like, so I think when you're hearing the same bands, and obviously you can go see the same band over and over, like support them, but you're not actually engaging with something new, you stop really like listening. I'm not saying it's everyone, but it's just something I feel.
That's very true.
Very
People
much
just,
also,
you know, yapping away in the audience. It's like, bro, what's so interesting?
But I also,
you know?
like, I can't help but like also think about it in terms of like if you've paid for your ticket, and like trust me, it really gets on my nerves, especially if it's like a more intimate gig like this one. I mean, if it's at a slightly like larger venue, then different
if it's big
story.
and you can't hear or see, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. If like,
but they're always sitting in the place where you can hear and see.
They're always front right, right over there.
Yeah.
And they're like, and then
they
they'll
think
do
the
that
show's
thing
about
where
them,
the
not
it'll
you.
go down, and then they'll just be like, and that's when I told her that she was such a bitch. And I'm like,
show's not for you, but anyways, it's okay.
I loved when Alice Phoebe Lou came and played at the Biscamore, and then Alessandro works for Tex wrote an article and titled it, because apparently at the show I didn't go to that one. I went to the one at the Homecoming Theatre. She was like,
shut up and enjoy the show or something.
Shut the fuck up and enjoy the show. And it's just like so true.
I had friends who were shushed multiple times at that show.
Crazy. But you know what, like, I think like if that's what you want as a performer out of your show, and you know, and her shows are very much like about that. It's like, you know, if you want to have a chat, like a little whisper, you know, to the side is a different story. But like if you're going to have a conversation, surely it's just not productive.
Although it is interesting, because I went to her show at the Homecoming Theatre like the week later, and she spoke a little bit about how it's difficult to find a balance of people enjoying themselves, because that was a seated show and the one at the Biscamore wasn't. Finding that balance between, you know, people just, I don't know, all over and whatever, and then not just sitting there quietly watching you play.
I think that's sort of something that's worked for how we've played the last couple of shows that we've done, where we've played like a really long set, but then we split it in like down the middle and we do like 8 songs, then go outside, have a break,
cigarette,
have a smoke, get me a shot,
love an
and then we do
interval.
this again.
We love an interval. No, but I think that's also a part of like how people engage with live music differently. And realistically, for a live music scene to thrive, you have to hit your like 20s to 30s, and particularly like 18 to 25, just because they're spending the most disposable money on alcohol and being silly. So that's your market. You know, where you have a market who didn't grow up with that culture, and as Gina said, like that was just never the culture. And I think for me and for a lot of people, like I really wanted that. So part of what we did was like trying to build something like that, which was one of the shows that, you know, that you played however many years ago. You know, to have a live alternative that we could, but there isn't the culture as much. It is more EDM focused. People have shorter attention spans, and like it's hard for people to sit down and focus on one thing. A DJ in a club is a much more ambient experience, you know, whereas like a live show is that. That's the show. You have to watch it. You can't like zone out and just like vibe to it. It's a very different experience, and people don't have that as much. But I do like the sentiment I've gotten is that people really out of COVID crave what live music has that dance music and other things.
And that live streams could never do.
Yeah, live streams could never do. And it's it's an experience that, I mean, for me is one of the highest experiences in life, really just being in a live music environment and being able to connect with people like that. I want to talk about, we've been talking about smaller bands and people trying to break in, and I want to talk about opener culture, because I think it's something that gets talked about in the DJing world quite a lot. Like if you're opening the club, you have a responsibility and you've got to curate your set in this sense. And I know from like the bands that I worked with and managed who were smaller bands, like being an opener is really important and it teaches you a lot and you have to look at your set differently. What would your guys' advice be to younger bands, younger performers trying to get into the scene who I think, also who you open for can be a big part of how you grow your career, especially in the beginning. What would be your advice to smaller bands starting out where that's more of a, where they're more likely to get an opening slot at a big gig, or even like a smaller gig, what that culture is for you guys as well, having had people open for you and
wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that much on that, because I mean I've definitely opened for so many bands, but it's never translated into like this is the band that like when we go on tour they need to come on tour with us. So it's like nothing that I've done so far has turned into something more lucrative than just this one time. And honestly, I don't care who's asking me to open. Well, to an extent I do, but like if you're actually paying me, I'm probably going to play that gig,
Yeah.
There was, I can speak on like gigs that like I've definitely played where I haven't been paid, but I've been like, okay, but this sound, this does align with me. And for that, I guess I think about it as more of a, earlier going back to what Callum said about like, you're not the same band, but you have a similar sound, so you get that band's audience. I think that's maybe what I would say. Like look at this, the people that are supporting this act that you're opening for, want to open for. If that makes sense for you, then do it. But if it doesn't, and you're maybe not getting paid, then it's not really worth it, because it's rare that it turns into something that is ongoing.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to say that that's also something that we didn't really mention earlier, with regards to curating lineups. It's like, how big is that lineup? If we're talking like 2 or 3 bands, then I think it's a little bit more acceptable to try and like
streamline
stay in your
things,
lane and like kind of keep it, with artists that are similar to you. On bigger lineups, I think then it becomes a bit more acceptable to have a bit more variation for ear breaks, for general like attention. If you have something that sounds a bit different, it's probably going to prick your ear, and then even if you go back to something that was the same after that, you're probably going to be a little bit more focused and attentive. So I think in terms of like advice for bands that are opening, it's like, I don't know, if you're like really new, there's not a lot that you can really say no, that you should really say no to, because I mean, up until a certain point, I mean that like as like a new band, paying your dues kind of a thing. And then after like maybe even, a couple of months, maybe a little bit longer than that, 6 months, but probably not longer than that, then you should start being selective in terms of who you're booking with, how much you're getting paid. Just because, and when you first start out, like, you're almost as much of an experiment as the people booking. They're like, I don't know what you're going to be like. You're like, we don't know either. Let's find out, So then I feel like that's where you pay your dues. And it's kind of like, okay, this could be a real fuck up. But then sometimes it is as well. But you're like, hey, man, I didn't get paid. And there were only like 20 people at the gig. And those experiences are character building. Those experiences give you an opportunity to get up on stage, create, experience what it's like to play the music that you've been working on in front of an audience that are like looking at you going and turning to their friend and going like, she's like a bitch, and then like you're gonna have to deal with somebody looking at you directly in your eyes, and then someone right next to you having a conversation and not like knowing that you exist. Those things kind of go beyond something that like a gig fee or a well curated lineup can. You just kind of have to go for that, and then once you kind of find your feet, then you can start looking at like, okay, cool, these are the bands that sound kind of similar to us. These are the bands that we like. Maybe they don't even sound similar to us, but we would want to open for them. Let's see if we can get in contact with them, either curate a lineup ourselves, because let's be honest, as a smaller band in Cape Town, that's what we got to do. We're not going to get booked. Well, very seldom are we going to get booked. And then like take that step yourself, or see what opportunities come to you after you've played those sort of like free gigs. Maybe someone who's at the gig is in another band and they were like, we like you, then you go along with that, and then just sort of be open to things, be willing to play gigs that you wouldn't have necessarily played before, but don't be taken for a puss. Don't let anyone walk over you, because I feel like that happens quite a lot in the Cape Town scene. New bands get used and abused for their entertainment, and they get taken advantage of. They get taken advantage of. They are a pasta restaurant gig. The owner doesn't pay them, but it's exposure. And like that conversation's been had and had again, but I don't think in the right sort of way. I think that there is such thing as exposure, but people take advantage. So it's like riding that sort of balance between, I want this gig and it could be fruitful in other ways. Is it worth the exposure bucks? Because maybe you can cash that in later and get a festival gig, and then those exposure bucks pay off in terms of your target audience and then your gig fee. Maybe you're gonna go and play and you're gonna just spend petrol money on the gig. So it's all the way up. Kind of have to take some chances.
I think my thing on the whole, payment and exposure thing, because I mean it is a conversation that's happened time and time again, and we're all talking about it all the time. There's always just been like, okay, quantify the exposure.
Big time.
Define it. Like, what is the exposure? What does it look like? Explain to me what the exchange is. Because if someone isn't willing to do that, then it's because they know they're not really offering you much, and they're trying to take you for a puss. And if someone, like, sometimes, you do need to play a gig for exposure because you are small and you are starting out, and it's sometimes it's a great opportunity, and then you're like, this is way better than whatever I could, try to charge these people, because I'm a startup. I can't charge them shit. And I think that, you do need to prove yourself. And I think more so than that, like, learn a lot of things about live performing before you start really, where you have the confidence to charge people what you're worth. And you do need to, like, wet your feet a little bit and learn some shit and make some mistakes and under promote gigs and, perform to 10 people. Like, that's all, it's character building. Which I think is important. What part of the conversation, I like that you said, we're not having the conversation in the right way about exposure. And I think for me, it's about, like, how are we growing our industry and setting up, systems and knowledge, escapes, whatever, within the Cape Town music industry, within the South African music industry, from, people who've been in the industry for longer and have, wet their toes and know what they're talking about, to help younger artists get in. What do you think are the things that need to be happening in the conversation to change it, where people do understand their value better, where people are given the credit that they are due, and where we can kind of grow sustainably a live music scene? Because I think, right now everyone's, like you said, struggling along, and it's been that way for a long time. What do you think are the things that we need to do, change in the conversation?
Do you have something for this?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to answer the question, but I was still on the other one.
It's fine. It's fine. That's what
but I think I can bridge them together. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah. This is like one of those exposure gigs.
But what Ray said about you play those gigs and you find stuff out on stage. Like if you're like a new band or any kind of musician or whatever, when you do stuff in the practice room, you're rehearsing the music. And when you go on stage and you play, you are executing the performance, and that's the only time you'll get that experience. is if you're doing it in front of people. And so it's a very different thing, you know, like, and I'm not the greatest performer in that sense, you know, like I think a lot about it, you know, like there's a lot to learn from like theater folks, you know, where they talk about where their awareness is, you know, and you know, you're aware of all of the objects and people in the room, and you know, like how you direct your attention, and there's all of those little things that you should be kind of peripherally aware of in your performance. And that's, you know, that's kind of one of the currencies that you get from maybe playing a show as a newer band and you're not getting paid, and you can look at it like that. It's like, I'm getting that experience, which is invaluable. Another thing to think of as a young musician is, I think there's like 3 different kinds of gigs you'll play. There's the gigs you want to play, but they're not going to pay. And I think those are the coolest gigs, you know, like you play the gigs, like, you know, we'll talk about this when I get to the second one, but you play those gigs and you really enjoy them because like you're not concerned about the money or anything. You just want to have a good time and play your music and connect with people, you know, and just get it out there. And then there's the gigs that you don't necessarily want to play, but they pay, you know, like
corporate gigs,
corporates, weddings, whatever, you know, you're not necessarily playing, you know, sometimes you can really nail it where you're playing in like a cool band, but like most of the time you're going to be playing with like some randos and you met them for like 2 rehearsals before, and it's a little folding, and
you're playing a bunch of covers,
you're playing Autumn Leaves in a funk, and the bass player just stopped.
That
you know,
sounded personal. That was a very specific.
I was the bass player. But you know, like those are the kinds of gigs that you need to play, and you shouldn't say no to up until a point, unless you got another job where you can actually say no to that. And then maybe you get lucky and you get number 3, which is, you know, the gigs that you really want to play and you get paid, which is like the unicorn of the music scene. You know, like when does that happen? So like you gotta also engage with those. With that in mind, you know, like if I'm playing a show where I'm not going to make, I mean, in this band, we don't make money, you know, we're not about that either, you know, like we don't treat it like a business, because we're a bunch of friends, and we get together and we do the thing that makes us happy, which is playing music together and having a good time, you know, with our friends there. And it's like, whatever, it's low stakes. We try really hard and we rehearse as much as we can, and we take it very seriously, but we're not like, oh, we didn't make money tonight, let's quit the band, you know, because if you got that attitude, you're not going to make it in the music industry. You know, you kind of got to have that attitude the whole time until you get some lucky break, which I think everyone is waiting on, you know. Fortunately, we all have other jobs, so you know, we don't have to rely on like gig money all the time. I mean, it's nice if it comes in, but like, you know, having another job, you know, having another revenue stream, like allows you to engage with music on your own terms. And then you can say no to, you know, gig type 2, where it's like, you know, the gigs that you don't necessarily want to play, and maybe it's a bit draining on like your inner artiste or whatever. You know, you don't want to compromise your art for the sake of making money, because like the commodification of your art form is like the death of creativity. You know, and
that's
you're not gonna you're not gonna get anything back from your music if you engage with it solely on that level. Money. So you kind of need you need to spread yourself out. You know, play some weddings. You bite the bullet. You know, do Autumn Leaves in a funk in 5. It's cool. You know, like entertain yourself. But then also take on a free gig that you just want to play. Even if you're playing to like 5 people and it's your best friends or whatever, that's cool. I love that shit, you know, like make it nice and intimate. I didn't answer any of the questions, but
I think you touched on a few things.
You did.
I think the balance, those 3
up until the last one.
Those 3 gig formats is a useful thing to think about, especially if you're a young musician. Try and find a balance between them.
Yeah, probably the best advice you've ever given anyone.
Yeah. I bet.
Either of you?
But the other question was how we engage,
how we change the conversation.
How we change the conversation.
What do we conversate? That's not a word. What do we talk about? I think that like I don't know, starters, we could be a little bit more open about the disparity between like what the big acts are getting and what the little guys are getting. That's really been like grinding my gears. And I'm not saying that like, you know, freaking socialism. I don't want us all to get paid the same thing. I recognize that they've like maybe been like some of these bands have been doing this for 10 plus, sometimes 20 years, you know, so like paid your dues, you've earned it, take it. But I mean, when your opening act is earning like what maybe 10% of what the, you know, what the other bands are, what the main band is earning, and then the event organizer, and don't get me wrong, you know, that's not an easy job and it takes a lot. But when they're also walking away with like a lot more money than somebody who was the entertainment at that gig. I don't really understand.
Damn, I'm getting angry now.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Don't get me started on the comms
If I
that they
could
give out
actually
to
move,
like.
I'd be swinging fists right now. Dude. I just
and
want to
then
break some.
every motherfucker with a camera gets like a free ticket to the festival, and you're there like, damn, that money could have gone to me.
Yeah. I think that it's like it's all good. You know, a lot of things in this world are, you know, unequal. Unequal? What's the right prefix there? Whatever. Unequal. Yeah. So I understand that that's not just a symptom of the music industry.
Yeah.
I understand that that is a symptom, you know, in greater society. But it's also something that I think that we should all address. You know, why there's such a disparity between, you know, people like between the earnings of bigger names, bigger artists, and you know the little guys. Again, I really don't think that like it should be equal or anything close to equal. But like, come on now, if you can pay your little guys a little bit more, they can afford better quality recording. They can afford maybe to hire a social media manager, which is not our like. I'm terrible with social media, but it's expected of me as a musician.
You guys are great, man.
You guys are insane, man. You were like all the stories.
I tried.
Wow, man.
I thought people were messaging me on Instagram.
Gina's going, it is a full-time job. It's very difficult.
One I'm not paid for. But
Same.
I
You do
agree,
way
like,
better than I do.
transparency and openness, I think, is like one of the most important things, because if you're afraid of telling the truth, then like you shouldn't be, then you should feel guilty about what you're doing if you can't be open about it. So if someone is not wanting to tell you, that's like a red flag. You know?
Yeah, I just think that it's like, I don't know. If I hadn't, you know, at previous gigs, asked and like pressed and known the people, known people who had been a part of the event organization, there's no ways I would have found out, and there's no ways anyone would have told me of their own volition. So it's like, why isn't the stuff? Why aren't we getting breakdowns after the gig of like, check, here's how much we paid the photographer, here's how much we paid sound, here's how much we did this, and here's how much you got paid in the grand scheme. Because if I had to get that breakdown and see that I genuinely got a fair portion and was paid almost as much as sound and photography as an opening artist, I would be stoked. But
that's interesting.
You know, never ever has happened, and it doesn't take, dude. Excel spreadsheets, as you pay for something, put it down there. It literally, and then also for your own bookkeeping and for your own, you can be like, okay, cool. So I spent a lot of money on this and it came to nothing. It would make sense if that was more of an industry standard, just in terms of the transparency and the conversation around pay. Because often I just hear of like my fee and then what the main guy got booked at and what their booking fee is, and the gap is massive. And it also kind of ties into the conversation about, they got paid that much because you probably find they were the name that pulled most of those people through the door. So most of that income would go to them. But I don't know, just in terms of transparency, it seems like it's quite like hush hush.
It's like,
you know?
it's like we're not saying socialism, but it's just like some slightly ethical capitalism, where it's not like the headliner walks away
slightly
with
ethical.
tons of money and everyone else like has to have other jobs, you know, despite trying to be a full-time musician. Like, that's wrong. We've got it a little bit out of whack there. We're not saying everyone's getting exactly the same gig fee, but like, you know, there's an imbalance there. And and the guys who are getting paid 500,000 Rand for their hour probably don't need all of that 500,000 Rand, you know, like, you know, them losing 5-10% of that can give every opener an extra $5,000, $10,000, you know, like things like that make a huge difference to the smaller guy, and they make it disproportionately less.
The tricky thing there, though, is that these big names are also paying a lot of people. It's not all going to Beyonce. It's 100%. Going to Beyonce and her big ass team of dancers and the bookers and the lighting, and so it's like I don't know where this conversation needs to change, but it's convoluted and I don't know. It just, I kind of want to like blame the audience. I kind of want the audience to be more to want more. Why are you so happy with the same shit? Like, be hungry. Go want something else, because then they won't put those same acts on there the whole time, and then Jeremy Loops won't claim 50% of Cape Town or South Africa's gig earnings every year.
We love Jeremy Loops, by the way.
Officially. No, and I mean, I think that is the case, is that especially in Cape Town, it's a small city relatively, and there's not a ton of people who are going to live shows. And so then it is exactly that, where people pick the one or two artists who they know will capture the biggest portion of that ticket paying whatever, because you know, you can't sell that many more tickets than that. And, you know, you're right. You know, it is teams, and the bigger artists have managers and booking agents and all of those things who get splits. And so I really like the suggestion of like a breakdown, but then do they break down, you know, they come back and they go, no, but look, okay, well, here's our breakdown of where everything's being split off. And actually we're only going back. So, I mean, I think we knew we were never going to arrive at the right answer in a 15-minute conversation. I also like it's interesting.
I wish
want
I
to
could
figure
take
it
props
out.
for it, but I'm gonna give credit back to Guitar Hero, dude. After you finish a gig on Guitar Hero, the video game, it would like you would finish your gig and it would like give you your breakdown. Like, here's your pay, here's how much you spent on broken hotel room stuff. So, I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy, but
let's be honest.
I'm just copying their no, but I mean, like, also just from like having worked in a CBD cannabis company, and like, you know, the necessity in that company for like, you know, looking at exactly because dude, you can forget stuff easy, so you got to write it down. So basically, like, you know, you see what comes in, you see what goes out, and it's like, it's good for me because then they know I haven't stolen anything. And I have like, no, you know, like, let's be real. It's a valid concern. When there's edibles going, like,
you might forget. You might make sure.
Wholeheartedly pass a lie detector because you genuinely
give me the body girl. But that's also, it's convoluted, man, because there's so much like, and that's actually a really good point. Is like, your bigger artists do have social media managers. They do have overhead costs that are like quite big. That are huge, you know,
because they're running businesses,
literally,
you know, huge, you know, big teams.
I do have a I think we all kind of know what a solution is, but it's so outlandish to us that it's just like impossible.
I cannot wait.
The solution is contracts. You know, like having a contract.
That's what I meant.
Each performer having a contract. And our government, you know, the Department of Arts and Culture, subsidizing gigs, putting that money where it should go to, you know, so that there is the ability to have like a base fee for any performer, not just a band as a whole, but you as an individual, you know, like so if I'm in a 7-piece band and you're in a 2-piece band, you know, like the band will make, you know, like, or maths, you know, like 3.5 times more or whatever. But you know, like, each performer is going away with the same amount of money, and then you know, the business, the people that are booking them, you know, they sign those contracts, they send it back, whatever, and they can write that off as a you know, like expenditure for the business, you know. As a whole system that can really work, but it's inconceivable to us as South Africans because we've never experienced a government that works for us before. So like, we're talking about this problem as though it's our fault, you know, that we can do more, or it's the audience's fault, they could do more, but it's not really that, you know, like, it's not really our gig to make sure that the the economy of the arts industry works. You know, that's up to government essentially.
It's like
That's
there's a
not our gig,
foundation
man.
missing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
trying to build on top of a
yeah,
bad
and
foundation.
we're on the tightropes here, and we're like, you know, why am I falling?
Yeah.
You know,
It's actually funny you say that because I was watching John Oliver last night. And I was watching an episode about inequality, and that's obviously about the States. But one of the things he said is like, it's almost like playing in a game where like the game is rigged, but and you know it's rigged, but you're still going like,
What
come
can I-
on, baby,
yeah.
and you're like throwing down your money, betting on the game, and like.
yeah.
What it's like no, I know that it's rigged. I know that everything's like pretty much like I'm just in the system, but I'm gonna put $100 on number 10. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
but
you
it's
still
always
pay
been
it
rigged,
to-
so we don't actually
yeah.
know anything different.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's why we just can't conceive of that answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think. I just want to push back against what Al said. I don't think you can blame the audience though. You know, like because if no one's coming to your shows,
Then maybe a music
that's not their fault. You know, like at the end of the day, like if you want to be like a publicly performing band, it's a market thing. You know, if there's no market for your music, don't expect people, you know, you never owed an audience. I know that's not what you were saying, railing against, but I think that's also something to take into account is like a lot of performers feel entitled to an audience where maybe, I mean, I've been guilty of this before. I played in a prog metal band. You know, that was on me. You know, like, of course no one was going to come to my shows.
I do not blame any member of the audience.
Yeah, no.
I actually saw them play. I didn't know Callum at the time, and he went missing. He was
we're not going to talk about that.
no,
Sure.
we can
We're
stop
not
right
gonna
there.
talk about that.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate
Yeah.
conversation.
But then when he
Went
did show
AWOL.
up, anyways, but, yeah.
I wanna bring it all back because I think, you know, in a lot of ways, yeah, it is the music and particularly events industry have just got no support from government, particularly through COVID when was the hardest hit industry and the most restricted, you know, like, and that is an abject failing on the behalf of government in South Africa. I think the reason we're all a bit more like, okay, well, what can we do is because we just don't expect anything to change.
Yes.
And, you know, it would be a waste of our time to sit around and wait for it. But, you know, still fucking sort your shit out, please. Thank you. But, you know, like talking about the game being rigged and all of that, there is something that still makes everyone who's part of this music industry still go and play the game. And despite knowing that it's rigged against you, despite knowing that you're not going to make money and possibly lose money. And I want to know, particularly from you, El, what is that, as Androgenius, what does that mean to you? What is that thing that keeps you coming?
Oh, I definitely,
me,
I
I'm-
can hoy. I can hoy on this one because before Androgenius, I'd had my own band, but I wasn't the front. I've always saw someone else singing the music.
You were in a band. You didn't have your own band. You were in a band.
No, I wrote the music, so I had a band.
Okay,
fair enough.
But with Androgenius specifically, it was like, okay, cool. This is the first time I'm stepping like to the front. This is like my shit that I'm singing about. It was also like the first time we were actually talking about. The first time I wore like a dress on stage, and okay, that didn't trickle out into real life because I just don't like dresses on me. But like makeup or just being more comfortable with myself and like singing a love song and replacing she with he on stage, even if it's a cover, like that stuff, like on a personal level, that made so much sense for me. On a connecting to the audience level, like I know that there were people that have messaged me after shows and been like, oh, my little brother is like super uncomfortable with his sexuality, but he saw you on stage, or like that shit means a lot to me. Like I think it's a privilege that I am at a point where I feel this comfortable, and getting to do that through my music. I see it being, even if it's not super far reaching, it's reaching and it's connecting, and for me that's the thing. Also, I just fucking love when like Langa just plays a fat groove and Ray catches and then no,
The music.
that shit feels too good. Yeah.
Yo, I was having
There
a
was
good
some
time.
disgusting things that went down at that show.
Nobby's solos, just like we were just like stank facing the whole time, just like, ooh,
My God.
calm down.
Yeah.
Make us look bad.
Sure. Yeah. No, that was special, and yeah, I think that's a really nice kind of note to pull it together on in terms of, that is what connecting to people, and live music lets you do that in a way that I've never experienced as a listener, at least, in other forms. And yeah, thank you guys for that, and thank you guys for the experiences that you have provided me, at least so far, and I can't wait for tonight. And yeah, thank you for sharing from your experience and what you've learned, because hopefully part of how we change the conversation is hopefully there's some young musicians who listen to this and learn something from your wisdom and from what you've...
Uncle Cyril's going to be listening as well.
Uncle Cyril, jeez, Departments of Arts and Culture. Yeah, the 200 million. Where's that gone? I don't know.
The whole government's going to be tuning into this.
Yeah, I know. As we know,
they know what's up.
cabinet or our 11 monthly listeners. Jokes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So excited for the show. And make sure you like and subscribe and share this with all your friends. You know the drill. Share it with a musician friend of yours who is trying to figure shit out, because everybody is. And yeah, let us know in the comments if there's anyone you want to have on the CAYACast next. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Cute. Sweet.